My name is Melissa Carter, I'm 28, and I worked tirelessly for years to buy my own apartment. It wasn't huge, but it was modern, cozy, and fully mine. Every dollar of the mortgage came from long nights of overtime, skipped vacations, and an iron determination to build a life independent from my family. My relationship with my parents has always been complicated. They had always favored my younger sister, Samantha, who in their eyes could do no wrong. She was the golden child, pampered, excused, and carried through life while I was expected to work hard, sacrifice, and somehow remain grateful for scraps of attention. It was early December when everything shifted. I stopped by my parents' house one evening to drop off some holiday gifts. I wasn't planning to stay long, but when I entered, they didn't notice me right away. Their voices drifted from the kitchen, low but urgent. "Melissa's apartment is perfect for Sam," my mother said matter-of-factly, her tone filled with entitlement. "She doesn't need all that space for herself." My father chuckled. "She'll never say yes if we ask directly. We'll have to ease her into it. Maybe over Christmas, when she's softened up. She won't dare refuse if the whole family's there." I froze. My heart pounded as I realized what they were plotting. My parents weren't just suggesting something. They were planning to manipulate me into handing over my home to my sister, as if my years of struggle and sacrifice were just a convenient solution for her careless lifestyle. And the worst part, they didn't even consider my feelings. To them, I wasn't a daughter with dreams or dignity. I was just a resource. I left quietly before they realized I'd overheard. My chest was tight, my mind spinning. Anger burned beneath my skin, but instead of confronting them immediately, I decided to stay silent. Because if they thought they could corner me at Christmas, then maybe it was time to show them just how wrong they were. The days leading up to Christmas were the hardest. Every time my mom called, pretending to check in on me, I could hear her forced sweetness. "Melissa, sweetheart, you'll be hosting this year, right? Your apartment is so spacious, it's the perfect place for a family holiday." I wanted to laugh. Spacious. My two-bedroom condo was cozy at best. But for them, it wasn't about Christmas cheer. It was about setting the stage for their little scheme. Still, I agreed. "Of course, Mom. Christmas at my place sounds wonderful." The silence on the other end was brief, but I could almost hear her grin. She thought her plan was working. I spent the next week preparing, not just for dinner but for my own performance. I decorated beautifully, cooked a full meal, and even set the table with my grandmother's old china. I wanted everything to scream comfort and stability. When Christmas Eve arrived, my parents, my sister Samantha, and a few relatives showed up right on time. Sam, as usual, breezed in without so much as a "thank you," wearing an expensive new coat I knew she hadn't bought for herself. "Wow, Mel," she said, tossing her purse on the sofa without asking. "This place is way nicer than I imagined. It's perfect." Her voice lingered on that last word, her eyes roaming possessively around my living room. My jaw tightened, but I kept my smile intact. Dinner went smoothly at first, but halfway through dessert, my mother cleared her throat. "Melissa," she said, her voice dripping with artificial warmth, "your father and I have been thinking. You've done such an amazing job here, and it just seems wasteful, you living here all alone." My fork paused in midair. "Here it comes." Samantha leaned forward, smirking slightly. "Yeah, Mel, I mean, I'm still stuck renting with those awful roommates. You wouldn't want your baby sister to suffer when you have all this space, would you?" The room went quiet, all eyes on me. I felt the weight of their expectations pressing down like iron chains. But inside, I wasn't breaking. I was smiling. Because what they didn't know was that I had already put my condo on the market. And while they were plotting to corner me, I was preparing to make sure none of them ever controlled my life again. The air in my living room grew heavy, almost suffocating. My father set down his glass and folded his hands like a judge delivering a sentence. "Melissa, your mother's right. This condo is far too big for one person. Samantha needs stability, and it's only natural you'd want to help your sister." Family looks out for each other. His words carried a tone that wasn't a suggestion. It was a command. I forced a laugh, light but sharp. Help her. Dad, I've already helped her plenty. Remember the time I signed her car loan? Or when I lent her money for rent? Money I never saw again. Samantha rolled her eyes. Oh, stop being dramatic, Mel. You know I'll pay you back eventually. But this isn't about money, it's about family. You're being selfish, hoarding this place when I clearly need it more. The audacity nearly made me choke. Hoarding. I had worked 2 jobs for years, saved every cent, and finally scraped together enough to buy this condo. Meanwhile, Samantha partied, dated guys who treated her like dirt, and cried to mom and dad every time life didn't go her way. And somehow, I was the selfish one. My mom reached over and patted my hand as though I were a child. Sweetheart, don't make this harder than it needs to be. Just let Samantha move in. She'll take care of the place. And you can stay with us for a while. Think of it as a fresh start. A fresh start. The phrase echoed in my head like a bad joke. They weren't asking me to share. They were asking me to hand my life over on a silver platter. I leaned back in my chair, folding my arms. My voice came out calm, but with an edge. So, let me get this straight. You want me to pack up my life, leave the home I worked my butt off for, and just hand it over to Samantha, because what? She's incapable of growing up. Samantha slammed her fork down. God, Mel. You always act like you're better than me. Maybe if you weren't so cold and bitter, you'd understand what it means to be a real sister. This place suits me more. You don't even need it. The room fell silent again, but this time the tension was electric. Their masks were slipping, and for the first time that night, I saw the entitlement in their eyes laid bare. I smiled. Just enough for them to notice. They thought they were winning, cornering me into agreeing. But what they didn't realize was that I was already steps ahead of them. Because by New Year's, this condo wouldn't even belong to me anymore. And when they found out, I knew their faces would be priceless. The tension lingered long after Samantha's outburst. My father cleared his throat, his face darkening with irritation. Melissa, don't twist this into some kind of attack. You have responsibilities to your family. This condo, he gestured around the room as if he owned the walls, isn't just about you. It could be the difference between Samantha getting back on her feet, or falling apart completely. I narrowed my eyes. So you're saying my years of sacrifice mean nothing? My hard work, my independence, all of it should just vanish, because Samantha can't keep her life together. Mom sighed, her voice dripping with exasperation. You've always been so stubborn. We raised you better than this. Don't you see, darling? Your sister needs you. If you can't do this out of love, then do it out of obligation. Family means sacrifice. Sacrifice. They said it so easily, as if I hadn't been sacrificing for years. Paying bills, covering Samantha's mistakes, biting my tongue when they praised her for the smallest scrap of effort, while ignoring the fact that I carried myself entirely on my own. Samantha leaned forward, her smirk sharp as glass. Face it, Mel. You don't even have a boyfriend, no kids, nothing tying you down. You're basically wasting this condo on yourself. If you really cared about family, you'd stop pretending you're some independent hero and just hand it over. Her words stung, but not in the way she intended. They only solidified the truth she and my parents didn't respect me. Not my choices, not my independence, not the life I had built with my own 2 hands. I clenched my jaw, but inside, a cold determination began to harden. Interesting perspective, I said finally, my tone deceptively calm. You think because I don't have a husband or kids, my life doesn't matter as much. That makes me the convenient one, right? The one you can push aside whenever Samantha screws up again. Dad slammed his palm on the table, rattling the silverware. Enough! This isn't a debate. We're your parents, and when we ask something of you, you listen. You'll let your sister move in. That's final. Their arrogance might have broken me once. But not anymore. I leaned forward, matching his gaze, and allowed the smallest of smirks to curl at my lips. If that's how you feel, Dad, then I guess you should enjoy tonight's dinner. Because it may be the last meal you'll ever have in this condo. For the first time all evening, silence wasn't mine. It was theirs. Shock painted their faces, and I relished every second of it. What they didn't know was that the paperwork had already been signed. By the end of the week, this condo wouldn't belong to any of us. And I couldn't wait for the fallout. The following days passed in eerie silence between my parents and me. They thought I was sulking, licking my wounds, preparing to bend as I always had in the past. But they were wrong. Behind their backs, I finalized the last signatures with my realtor. The condo that I had poured my blood and sweat into was no longer mine. Soon, it would belong to a stranger. A buyer who had no knowledge of my family's endless manipulations. On Christmas Eve, I invited them over again. The decorations still sparkled, and the scent of cinnamon lingered in the air. But beneath the holiday glow lay a storm they didn't see coming. Samantha flounced in first, a suitcase trailing behind. Samantha rolled her suitcase across the living room, grinning as if she had already claimed every inch of the space. My parents followed behind her, whispering about where the Christmas tree could be moved to make room for her things. They didn't notice the thick manila folder in my hand until I set it down on the coffee table with a deliberate thud. "What's that?" my father asked, frowning. "Papers," I said simply, sliding them across. "Closing documents. The condo isn't mine anymore. As of this morning, it belongs to someone else." The silence that followed was so sharp I could hear Samantha's suitcase wheels creak as she let go of the handle. My mother's face drained of color. What are you talking about?" she stammered. "I sold it," I said. "Every corner, every room, every memory, gone. You plotted behind my back, you assumed my life was yours to rearrange. But this place was never your playground. It was my sanctuary. And I won't let you poison it." Samantha's mouth fell open. "Where am I supposed to live?" she shrieked. I smiled coldly. "That's not my problem." My father's fists clenched. My mother tried to reason, her voice trembling with desperation. But I didn't waver. For the first time, I wasn't their obedient child. I was the one in control. They stormed out into the winter night, dragging Samantha's suitcase behind them, their Christmas plans shattered. And as the door shut, I felt something I hadn't in years: peace. Selling the condo wasn't just about walls and bricks. It was about reclaiming my life. And that Christmas, I gave myself the one gift they could never take away again: freedom.